Hello everyone, welcome to our Comments and Answers TJ channel. I hope all of you are doing well. In this new week, we're going to prepare for the comments in the section, Let's Find Hidden Pearls. We are in the week of March 18th to 24th, in which we will analyze Psalms 19 to 21. Let's begin. The first question is: how do these verses help us understand what synthetic parallelism is? Before answering the question, let's read the Bible text. Psalm 19 verses 7 to 9 says, "The law of Jehovah is perfect, it restores strength. Jehovah's reminders are trustworthy, making the inexperienced wise. Jehovah's orders are just, bringing joy to the heart. Jehovah's commandments are clean, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Jehovah is pure, lasting forever. Jehovah's judgments are true, entirely righteous." Very well, then the answer to the question is: the verses from Psalm 19 verses 7 to 9 clearly demonstrate synthetic parallelism by presenting a poetic structure in which the second part of each verse expands and adds new ideas to the first, rather than repeating or contrasting each verse. It is a synthesis that combines two elements and the rhythmic causation between the first and second parts of each verse, which contributes to the progression of the idea. In this way, the reader understands the complete meaning of concepts such as the perfect law and Jehovah's trustworthy reminders only by considering both parts of each verse. This style of parallel construction is a clear manifestation of synthetic parallelism, also known as formal or constructive parallelism. Let's move on to the next question. What spiritual pearls have you found about Jehovah, the ministry, and other topics in this week's Bible reading? Psalm 19 verse 3 says, "There is no language, there are no words, his voice is not heard." Very well, then the comment is: it shows how the psalmist recognizes his own weakness and dependence on Jehovah. Asking God to restrain arrogance is an act of humility, recognizing that, without divine guidance or Jehovah's guidance, one is prone to make mistakes. On the other hand, it teaches us that prayer reflects the willingness to submit to God's commandments, and that was what the psalmist sought, to obey and follow the divine will. Let's move on to the next comment. Psalm 19 verse 7 says, "The law of Jehovah is perfect, it restores strength. Jehovah's reminders are trustworthy, making the inexperienced wise." Very well, then the comment is: it mentions that Jehovah's reminders are trustworthy, highlighting the importance of trusting in divine promises and teachings contained in the scriptures. However, it also teaches us that trust in Jehovah and his promise can provide wisdom and guidance, especially in times of uncertainty. Let's move on to the next comment. Psalm 19 verse 8 says, "Jehovah's orders are just, bringing joy to the heart. Jehovah's commandments are clean, enlightening the eyes." Very well, then the comment is: it teaches that Jehovah's orders are based on divine principles of righteousness and fairness. It also teaches us that following Jehovah's teaching is not only a duty but also a pleasure because they are also a source of joy. Therefore, being obedient to Jehovah's commandments brings profound satisfaction and joy. Let's move on to the next comment. Psalm 19 verse 9 says, "The fear of Jehovah is pure, lasting forever. Jehovah's judgments are true, entirely righteous. Very well, then the comment is. It shows that the fear mentioned here in this verse does not refer to paralyzing fear but to a deep respect and reverence for Jehovah God. It is a recognition of His greatness and holiness. This fear is pure in the sense that it is clean, without contamination from selfish or malicious motives. It is a fear that arises from love and devotion, not from intimidation. Let's move on to the next comment. Psalm 19 verse 10 says, "They are more desirable than gold, than much refined gold, and sweeter than honey, honey dripping from the comb." Very well, then the comment is. It compares the sweetness of Jehovah's judgments to honey dripping from the comb. This metaphor highlights the pleasure and satisfaction that comes from living according to God's will. Obedience to His commands is not only wise and just but also rewarding and joyful. Let's move on to the next comment. Psalm 19 verse 11 says, "By them your servant has been warned, and in keeping them there is great reward." Very well, then the comment is. It acknowledges that through the Scriptures, Jehovah's servants receive instruction. This highlights the revealing nature of God's words, which provide direction and wisdom for life. The lesson is that obedience to divine teachings is fundamental. The text implies that true understanding of the Scriptures goes hand in hand with obedience. It is not enough just to know the Word, but true wealth comes from living according to it. Let's move on to the next comment. Psalm 19 verse 12 says, "Who can perceive his own errors? Declare me innocent of the sins I commit unknowingly." Very well, then the comment is. It teaches us to be humble and recognize that as human beings, we are often not fully aware of all our mistakes. If we are humble, it will help us for our spiritual growth. Let's move on to the next comment. Psalm 20 verse 4 says, "May He grant you the desires of your heart and make all your plans succeed." Very well, then the comment is. It teaches us that prayer should be paramount in our daily lives. Through prayer, we should seek Jehovah's guidance in all our actions, in everything we do. Recognizing that we depend on God in our lives is essential to achieve true success. Let's move on to the next comment. Psalm 20 verse 7 says, "Some trust in chariots and others in horses, but we trust in the name of Jehovah our God." Very well, then the comment is. The main lesson in this verse is that true security and confidence come from God, not from material resources or human strength. Instead of relying exclusively on tangible things, we are encouraged to put our trust in Jehovah's sovereignty and provisions. In a world full of uncertainties and challenges, this verse encourages and teaches us that we should embrace faith in Jehovah as a response. Instead of allowing fear and anxiety to dominate us, we can trust in the security that comes from our relationship with Jehovah. Another lesson we can also draw from this text is that by emphasizing that we invoke the name of Jehovah our God, the psalmist underscores God's sovereignty and power over all things. This reminder helps us and teaches us to maintain a balanced perspective and to remember that Jehovah can help us even when circumstances are challenging. Well, that was the analysis of the comments and answers for the hidden pearls of this week. I hope it is very helpful to you, my dear brothers and sisters. I send you a big hug, and may Jehovah bless and protect you always.